Good evening and welcome to the work session business meeting of March 3rd, 2022. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're going to start with public comment on any of the agenda items. Does anybody have any comments they want to make before we open the meeting on the agenda items? Okay, then let's move to the consent agenda, please.
To make it official, resolve approve the consent agenda items 2 through 12 presented to the board this meeting.
Second.
So questions or comments on any of those things that Ms. Bellino mentioned? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. So we are going to begin our presentations this evening. Dr. Luft, do you want to do the introductions? You have to be tall.
Good evening. All right, so our first presentation this evening will be from our elementary school administrators. So I'd like to welcome up Dr. Podesta and Ms. Jennifer Pico. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Margaret Podesta, principal of Putnam Valley Elementary School, and I'm so happy to be here tonight to talk about our elementary building. I'd like to introduce, for the first time speaking at a board meeting, Ms. Jen Pico, my assistant principal, and we've been getting along fabulously and doing lots of great work at the elementary school since she joined us in late October. So very happy to have her here with me. We're here to talk about the elementary school and its budget as we look into the next year, 2022-2023. And as the quote says, this is where it all begins. We try very hard each and every day to provide a strong and dynamic foundation for our young learners in Putnam Valley. And we're proud of the work we do and extremely proud of the staff at the elementary school. Our current goals for this year and moving forward, celebrating our academic successes and always looking to continue to grow and improve. You will see from our slides that we've had tremendous success with our academic progress, the programs we've been able to offer our elementary school students, and the results of those programs. Strong and dynamic teacher teams who are working collaboratively each and every day, supporting each other as professionals, as friends, and growing in the curriculum work that they're doing. Always maintaining a safe and engaging learning environment with a strong sense of community. We're very excited that the world is becoming a healthier place. Parents will be able to come into our building much more often. And just the fact that we were able to teach through the pandemic with our doors open to our learners throughout really the majority of the time after spring of 2020. And we're proud of our district and the support that we've had through that entire experience. Always appropriate support and enrichment for all students according to specific learning needs. And this means academic support, academic growth, in the classroom and even beyond the classroom. Continued support of our growing ENL program, and you will hear that our program is remaining steady and always growing. Culturally responsive classrooms, which we take very seriously. A brand new special this year, Innovation Lab. We replaced our technology special, and this is showing great success for all students. A beautiful new science lab where our classes visit the science lab and work on their hands-on experiments and learning with the TA in the science room, but with the teacher as well. Digging into our ELA program, always looking to make it more rich, make it more effective, and to grow our young readers and writers. And a very large focus always, each and every day, from morning announcements throughout, on character education, kindness, and respect. Jen?
I'm so proud to present tonight about the Innovation Lab. The Innovation Lab at Putnam Valley was really something that I could have only dreamed about before coming to this school. This space is the perfect place for all children to thrive. It's led by Jen Bruno, and she has made this space into something magical. She leads all of the students in our building through project-based learning, hands-on learning. This place just organically gives an enriching experience to every student. She has taken this from ground zero to the most beautiful place you could absolutely imagine. Every student that walks in those doors is excited to be in there for every moment of the day.
As we look at our enrollment overview, you can see through the years from 1920 up to where we are and where we are going. And you can see that some of our classes, even this year, 2021, 2022, you can see that they vary widely in size. Our current third grade is our smallest group with 79 students. The largest group is now our current second grade with 126. And all of the others are at or about that 100 mark, with first grade growing. And I think we're always welcoming new students. We've been welcoming new students all year. So at this point, we have 531 total students. But if you look through the years, we have steadily grown. We have, I think Dr. Luft has said, or he'll tell you that, we've received more students than students who have moved away. And so right now, we have begun our kindergarten registration process, and we at this point on March 3rd are already up to 85 registrants, which is a nice, healthy number for March.
Speaking of kindergarten registration, last Thursday over the break, we opened the doors at PVES to some of our first families registering their students for kindergarten. As you can imagine, registering your child for kindergarten comes with a lot of emotion. If it's your first child, it comes with a whole slew of emotions and a lot of questions. If it's your last child, it comes with a whole slew of different emotions. Some are happy, goodbye, and some are, feeling the mixed emotion of their last child starting their school experience. I really have to give it up to our office staff and our nurse for how they have simplified this process for the parents. They have answers, as we try to also, for every question that any parent could possibly have about registering their child. It was great. We got to see a few of the faces, and Liz in the front office said, "I just don't understand how the kids at Putnam Valley keep getting cuter." And they do every year. So I'm excited to meet more families. And if there's anybody out there listening that has not registered yet, please call the elementary school and we can start the process for you.
So the kindergarten registration process has become more and more efficient, and as Jen just said, last week we had a good number of families register. This is not when the children have to come in. This is when the parents come in with the official paperwork, to be followed by screening in May, and of course the famous bus orientation at the end of the summer. This picture was taken yesterday, so you don't see lots of masks in that classroom right there, but you do see some smiles, and they're showing me how important it is to be a kindergartner. They're showing me what a great job they're doing. Okay, our current classes now, speaking of our budget and looking at where we are, our kindergarten classes all have about 19 to 21, 5 sections. We have 5 sections of first grade, but take a look at those numbers. They are kind of steadily growing. This is where we are right now, 22, 22, 24, 22, and 24. And so we're talking about young children whose year was a little bit interrupted last year. Some of these children were remote. They're in first grade now, becoming young readers and mathematicians. And so those classes are a nice, healthy size. Healthy or even getting a little bigger. Grade 2 has really grown this year. Grade 2, we have 24 in each of the 5 sections, with another second grader coming in a week. So these classes, we're taking a very close look at the size of those classes. Grade 3 stays small. I don't know what it is, but this is our little class, our third graders, and 21, 18, 19, and 19. And then our fourth grade classes, this isn't right. There's one extra class put in there. Sorry about that. We have 4 sections of fourth grade. So there are 27, 25, 23, and 23, I believe. So we'll have to take that extra 23 out. Okay, we have 2 self-contained classes, 6 students in the K-3 class and 7 in the 2 through 4 class. And then we do have a full day Achieve with 4 students, where some of our students in 1-2 actually push into that classroom for ELA and math. Okay, so now this projection slide looks at next year. This is one possibility, and I know we'll look at this with the board. Kindergarten, we're anticipating that we will have 5 sections of about 20 students. That's a little hard to predict at this point, but that's what we're anticipating. Grade 1, 5 sections of the 20 students who are currently in kindergarten. But if we look at grade 2, it is possible that if we could have 6 sections instead of 5, take that large first grade class, bring them to grade 2, and add a section with federal stimulus money to give an extra group, they would still all have about 19 students in those second grade classes. Grade 3, we know we're going to at least 5 sections because we have 5 second grade classes, but those second grade classes right now have 24 in each. If we went to 6 sections with a stimulus money position added, we would have 6 sections of third grade with about 20 students, which is quite different from the third grade this year, which is so small. They would go to 4 sections of fourth grade, and like I said, we currently do have 4 sections of fourth grade, but this class would be smaller at 19 students each. So this is something that we can continue to examine, and let us know what you're thinking with this, but 2 of these positions would be funded with federal stimulus funds. Looking back at staffing, and I won't read through all of this because really we haven't had many changes. If you look at our total in 1920, we had 99 total staff and faculty plus 2 administrators and a safety patrol officer. If you look at the next year, 2020-21, we're at 97 total. And so once in a while, a bigger class gets that extra section, a smaller class gets 1 less section. Every grade level has a collaborative class where a general ed teacher and a special ed teacher teach in the same classroom. So that's at 97, then you go to the next year and again, 97. So our staff numbers, even though sometimes our numbers change in a grade level a little bit, our staff has not really significantly or at all grown in general. So the numbers basically stay the same year to year to year. Anticipated staffing for next year would look very similar. So we have our administration, we have our office staff. Grade K, if we look at this plan, we'd have 5 general ed and a special ed teacher. Grade 1, 5 and 1. Grade 2, looking at 6 and 1. Grade 3, 6 sections with a special ed teacher in 1. And then grade 4, again, 4 general ed teachers with 1 with a special ed teacher in the classroom. We have 1 math AIS teacher currently. We have 2 reading AIS teachers. We have one ENL teacher in the building, although there are other faculty who do have the ENL certification. One of our first grade teachers does, and so does one of our third grade teachers does. We have 2 psychologists, we have 1 counselor. Currently, we have 2.4 speech teachers. We do have 1 nurse. He's our new nurse, Mr. Murphy, and we have our floating nurse, Mrs. Hill, who we know so much, but she's the floating nurse throughout the district at this point, and 6 specialists, 2 phys ed, art, music, innovation lab, and band teacher. As far as upcoming staff changes, we're looking at possibly 3 additional general ed teachers, as we've said, 2 through federal stimulus funds. We're watching, as always, that we do at this point in the year, the incoming kindergarten enrollment, and always making sure that the professional support staff numbers are in line with student needs. But that's not necessarily a change. We just make sure that it's lined up and student needs are met. And Jen's going to talk a little bit about our ENL program.
Speaking of student needs, we have a population of students that are in our ENL program. That population is holding steady and growing. We do have the amazing Mr. Hogan in our building, and in one of my past lives, we'll say, I was an ENL teacher, and Mr. Hogan takes the cake. He is absolutely amazing. He is everywhere all the time. You can find him in the hallway with students, in classrooms with students, at recess with students, walking from place to place, constantly instructing, constantly enriching their experience at school. He is also key to communicating with many of our families. He has his phone on him at all times. He's always happy to help, to translate, to communicate, whatever it is that we need, and he's a huge advocate for the students. But that really is just the way that the program is built at Putnam Valley. Mr. Hogan is special and he is amazing in what he does, but that's the culture of the building, to meet the needs of the students. And I see the same level of dedication and advocacy, not only from him, but also from the teachers that Dr. Podesta mentioned that are certified ENL teachers, and all of the staff that collaborate to meet the needs of these students.
We are happy to say that the musical concerts are back. Our 4th graders were able to borrow the stage over here in the high school and perform for their parents. That was a wonderful evening because we were welcoming our elementary parents back into school activities. We are looking forward to a 4th grade spring concert, a 3rd grade recorder concert, and also other just little celebrations with parents in classrooms and in our auditorium as the spring moves forward. Something to celebrate and not to ever overlook is the hard work that our staff has really been doing over the past few years, aligning our curriculum very, very closely and meeting the needs of our students. So as some of you may have read, with US and News and World Report, Putnam Valley was ranked 103 out of 2,831 elementary schools in the state. This is academic performance and achievement. We were actually rated as an elementary school with our 3rd and 4th grade state exams in the 96th percentile of all elementary schools in the state. This is something to be proud of because you can only do this with effective teachers, a caring staff. You can only do it with a Board of Education and Administration that really provides for you what our students need, including professional development for our teachers. And it's also the hard work of teachers who have been digging into curriculum and really looking at how we can best meet our needs for students who have disabilities, students with ENL, students with special reading and math needs. And so this was something to celebrate. And really, it's hard for the teachers to sit back and celebrate because we're busy working, but I really wanted them and our administration helped them take a moment to say, this was not where we were, it's where we are now, and we're just going to keep working. This was from the 2019 spring data. In math, we were rated number 89 in the state. So, good for Putnam Valley and good for everyone who took part in just getting us to where we are. Test scores are not everything, but they are a reflection of the work being done and the curriculum being met. Both grades 3 and 4 in the recent assessments ranked #1 in the entire Putnam, Northern Westchester, BOCES region. That's Putnam and Northern Westchester ranking #1 in grade 3 and 4 in math scores. And that again, it's our Eureka math program, it's our teachers, it's our understanding of how to best meet the needs of students, and it's the support staff as well. That brings us to some work we're really excited about right now. We're really digging into our ELA study, taking a very close look at the work that we do, how we teach reading and writing. There's never the set answer like, okay, we are here, we have it all figured out. That's just not how it works in education. So along with Jackie Levine's support, Dr. Luff, Dr. Doherty, we are looking very closely at many parts of ELA, English Language Arts. We're looking at DRA scoring, our reading level assessments with consistency. We're looking at teaching our foundations K through 3 with fidelity, making sure that we are all in line with what our students are getting as far as education and what they're getting from grade level to grade level. We have this wonderful initiative called the Writing Revolution, where we're incorporating writing techniques right into all parts of the content areas so that students get a much stronger understanding of the basics of writing and the basics of the sentence. And as a pilot, we have teachers who've requested to really dive into what programs are even out there right now, because we think of the old-fashioned programs, and I'm even going back to just the early 2000s, but it's, there's a lot out there for parents, for teachers, and for us to take a look at and see, is there something out there that could even work for our students here even more effectively and with more consistency. So I give so much credit to the teachers who've said, hey, do you want to take a study and take a look and maybe pilot something even in 1 grade or 2? So this is great work, and it gets us very excited because we're instructors. Speaking of reading, here we go.
So if you're a basketball fan, March Madness might mean something to you, but at Putnam Valley Elementary, we have the March Madness Reading Academy happening right now. Day 2 happened today. And once again, this is a program started with the support of Dr. Levine, Dr. Luft, supported by federal funds. And this is a program for students after school, twice a week in the month of March, to just give them that boost. When you give a student a boost in reading, just a little bit goes a long way. So we had our 1st and 2nd grade teachers carefully look at their students. We looked at data with them, and we said, what students would benefit from just a little bit more? If we give them just a little bit more after school, how far will that go? And the answer is very far. So we have about 27 students, I believe, that are in our program this month in our academy, along with 4 teachers who could probably teach reading all day long if we let them, right? Super passionate about this, what they love to do all day long, and have the skills and expertise to give these students just a little bit more to go a long way.
We also have the Mandarin Program, which is being taught in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade this year, looking to bring it up to 3rd grade next year because our current 2nd graders have had it every year since they started at Putnam Valley. This is a group celebrating the Chinese New Year here, wearing their red. And our TA, who comes with the agreement through BOCES, comes in every day of the week. Each class meets with the Mandarin teacher for 30 minutes once a week, and they speak Mandarin. They are learning colors and numbers and holidays and family members, and it's a very exciting part of language enrichment. We all know that the best time to learn language is very young, and so they're learning it faster than I am, I can tell you that. But I've also been asked to just share with colleagues around the region on how it's going, and maybe we can have some visitors into our elementary school from other schools who are very interested in this initiative. So again, we have had this funded in different ways. We appreciate the support. Last year, the Putnam Valley Education Foundation helped us with this, and this is making quite a difference in our school. And the teacher stays in the room, so the teachers are learning the Mandarin language as well. And it's just a wonderful language-rich experience. Our Eureka Math continues to be a program that drives our math curriculum. We do use extra supports as well, but as you know, this is a program, or as you may have heard, that really teaches the understanding of number sense, several different strategies, how to solve a problem. Some look familiar to us, some are brand new. Children learn number bonds and base 10 frames, and they are solving word problems through our 6-step framework. And the children's math success is apparent because I just shared the data with you, but also when they are speaking out loud and telling you how they're solving their problems, you can see how they're decomposing numbers and adding numbers that work together and breaking down word problems, which is a very challenging skill. And this happens to be Mr. Wish's room, who is our math AIS teacher this year. And they're always busy, hands-on. They've got their smart board, their manipulatives, their dry erase board, and it all supports our Eureka math curriculum, which is completely aligned to the Engaged New York State learning standards. Oh, that's me. Okay. This is our gorgeous new science lab, and we're very, very fortunate to have this beautiful room. Every grade level uses this science lab with our TA in the room, Mrs. Liz Bross. She has been trained in Science 21 to teach with the classroom teacher, and I was actually in this room today. Students were learning about different sources of energy and why some are better than others. But sometimes you'll walk into this room and there are strings going from one side to the other because they're studying energy and motion. This is just an amazing place of learning where science comes alive. The teacher isn't setting up science experiments in her own classroom where she's teaching ELA and social studies, but the teacher is bringing the class into this room where the hands-on learning and the experiments take place. So this is a place to visit if you're in the building. Okay.
Social emotional learning is something that's very close to my heart, and I value the importance of this aspect of curriculum in an elementary school tremendously. And coming to Putnam Valley Elementary, I was really thrilled to see how this is a priority in the building. We have Laura Kilduff is our social worker in the building and our counselor, and she works very closely with the psychologist, but not only that team, also with the classroom teachers, with the administrative team, and with the students in pushing into classrooms and really addressing the needs of social emotional learning. She uses a lot of the materials from the Second Step program. She addresses things such as bullying, feelings. She talks about different dynamics, different social issues that might happen, problem solving. She really hits it all. She's a great resource for all of us, and the program has been very successful. We've tried to integrate her language and the ideas and the lessons that she's doing, pushing into classrooms, taking it outside to recess, taking it to issues that might happen on the bus. And it gives us a platform and something that we can leverage other lessons off of.
School safety has been a top priority always, and especially over these years with the pandemic. You can see that our auditorium on the right was actually set up and is still set up as an extra lunchroom in our building for social distancing. Children, seating with the pandemic, you want to be able to eat and have your space, so that has worked beautifully. The safety patrol members are on the left here, and we have pictures of them wearing their proud yellow safety belts, and that's one of the clubs in our school. But just in general, whether it's social emotional learning and bullying or teasing or just staying safe health-wise, it's a priority. We have our mandated drills that we run in our school. We do it in a safe and reassuring way, but we want to make sure that we are keeping our children safe. They know they're safe, and they can ask questions if they have any about safety, health, or anything, because we've all been through a lot together, and we're dealing with very young children. We do have a gym show coming up in May, and we're looking forward to that. We were not able to have this last year, so all of this just feels new and exciting again. So we're looking forward to that and having parents attend our events. Our specialists, of course, we have 2 full-time phys ed teachers. We have an art teacher. our innovation lab teacher, our music teacher, and we do have our band teacher, Mrs. Bennett, who actually also goes to the middle school to teach. Our continued goals, visions, and clubs continue to be a priority so that our world is rich in the elementary school. We held our kinder camp. We hope to have another kinder camp in August of 2022, and we thank the district for supporting that few days where we bring in some of our incoming kindergartners just to expose them to school life before the school year begins. We had, for the first time, our summer boost academies due to the pandemic, and these were federally funded. We'd love to be able to do that again. We continue to fill in any academic gaps, any social, emotional building we can do. We had several weeks of this summer boost academy last year. The teachers did an amazing job, and these were wonderful programs for the children as they came back into the classroom. Some of them had been remote for most of the year. We have our upcoming Science Maker Fair, which already the fourth graders are working very hard, even after school, with Mrs. Bruno and Mrs. Bross to prepare their experiments and projects. Some of them will be going to the Tri-County Science Fair, which is normally held down in Lower Westchester. I do believe this year it's virtual, but they'll get back to being in person probably by next year. We have our Maker Club, our Safety Patrol, our Kids of Character Club, the gym show's coming. We have the PVES PTA musical coming up in March in just a few weeks. We always have our community read in May, where we have our community members come in and read to our classes. The writing and poetry celebrations with parents invited are coming back to life again, and that's wonderful. And of course, we'll build up to our huge Spirit Week in June, where every day is a theme day, ending with a field day. So Mrs. Pico hasn't been here for that yet, but it's coming. Okay. And just ideas that, it's been a while, and we know that if you have first and second grade students whose parents have really hardly been in the building up until now, that's difficult because these are really young children, and we work closely with the parents, and we want parents to be part of it. So I will share, we did have in-person parent conferences in the fall. If parents felt they wanted to come in and meet with the teacher in person, that was an option. We're starting our concerts. We had a first responder story share this year, which was wonderful, where first responders came and talked to different classes and read stories. We have poetry sharing coming, special craft days and classes have taken place, writing celebrations. Fourth grade will have their Colonial Day, where the children dress up and share their research with their parents, holiday activities. Of course, the kindergarten orientation and bus run this year, the parents were here. They were with us, so that was wonderful. Back to school nights, we had parents in person, and many schools around us did not. They had virtual, but we really felt it was safe, and we handled it so that parents could be comfortable coming in. Our Science Maker Fair will be in person, and of course, the gym show. Our musical's coming up, and here's Mrs. Calhoun and Mrs. Phillips. They're working very hard here. It happens to be Valentine's Day that day, but they are getting ready for the show with so many cast members. We were after school for the Reading Academy today, and first the musical kids went by, then the science kids went by, then the Reading Academy. And I said to them, does anybody go home anymore? So we have lots of clubs and lots of opportunities for them. And we are happy to say that we're looking forward to upcoming April parent workshops that we are planning now. You'll hear that there will be an ENL Academy coming for parents and students, supported by federal funds, and we truly appreciate the ability to do this, along with a workshop supporting young readers at home to help parents do that, and inviting the students in possibly for that evening as well, which would be wonderful. And of course, in May, we always hold our community read. That's a tradition. If you get your invite, you're going to get another one, and we can't wait to have you come read to our students.
So this is the first I'm hearing about a Spirit Week in June, because I said earlier to Dr. Podesta, in the 20 years that I've been in an elementary school prior to this, I don't think that I have had as much spirit or theme that I have in the 4 months since I've been here. Since I've been here, I've worn my favorite jersey, my favorite sports team, my new Putnam Valley sweatshirt, even got to wear tie-dye, tutu, and top hat all on the same day. So the spirit is all around at Putnam Valley Elementary, and these days, if you have the opportunity to walk in and out of classrooms like I do, you just see the smiles on the faces of the kids, the excitement in their voices. Mrs. Pico, this is the best day. Mrs. Pico, I have to show you this. They're practically skipping in the hallways. I have to tell them to slow down, but that's okay. The culture of Putnam Valley Elementary School is one of happy children, happy teachers, dedicated teachers, and it is just a magical place to be. So far, like I said, we've had Sports Jersey Day, we celebrated the 100th day of school, Valentine's Day, two top hat, tiara, and tie-dye. I can't even imagine what we're going to do for Spirit Week, but it's all good. It's all great.
You might as well have some fun, right? And so with all of that and our successes and the support that we've been given by the community, our Board of Education, our administration, and of course the amazing staff at Putnam Valley, we're just looking forward to continued success for every student every day. So thank you very much.
So I do have a question. I knew
Okay.
you were about to say any question.
Any questions?
One clarification. You mentioned that there were 3 additional teachers, 2 covered by federal funds, but I counted only 2 because 4th grade will have 4 sections. This year it had 5.
It didn't, though. That was my error. 4th grade has 4 sections this year.
Now.
Right now.
Okay.
We know we need another teacher because we currently have 5 sections of 2nd grade, and we only have 4 sections of 3rd grade currently. So we know we need that section,
Right.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's actually 2 additions to 3rd grade, 1 addition to 2nd grade, or the 3
Okay.
new positions. 4th grade is 4 this year, will be 4 again next year. 3rd grade's going from 4 to 6, 2nd grade's going from 5 to 6.
Is there any consideration for or of looping with the younger grades as far as since some of them had abbreviated calendars because they were remote? Is there any thought to either kindergarten or 1st grade when they move up that 1 grade that the teachers move with them, or is that something that is under consideration? Especially if we're, bringing in new teachers to take on new loads. I wonder if it makes sense to fill backwards, not to use it in a negative way, but to fill backwards with the newest teachers and then keep those connections with those teachers to loop. Because I know sometime in the last decade we've done that on 3rd and 4th grades and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we haven't talked about that in recent days, but I know one of my own children looped 1 year, and when I found out that was happening, I was pretty excited. So, it was a great teacher and a great class. There are always considerations when you ask about that, because sometimes it might work for 80% of the class, but it doesn't work for the other 20. And the other consideration I have as a principal is the strong dynamic that teachers have on a team, and that's I said with my dissertation, that was one thing that I learned, that how does a teacher grow best? And one of the key factors is how you're working as a team with your closest colleagues and what you're learning from each other and how you're collaborating. That doesn't mean that teachers don't move and, become
Right.
very successful. So I wouldn't say that's off the table, but we haven't talked about it. Yeah. But I hear what you're saying because of the gaps and the, missing some school last year. Yeah.
So I'm sorry I jumped right into a question. I just want to first, I smile every time I look at a picture of the elementary school students. And working in a middle school, that's a pleasure to see all of that young excitement.
They are very cute.
My question is actually more for Dr. Luff. Can we jump ahead just in terms of, can we have an upcoming presentation for the board for our ENL program? I know since I've been on the board, it's almost tripled. In terms of numbers, and I'd love a little more details on how many of those students are emerging, how many are commanding, which are some of the categories, how many hours our students are getting, are they push in, push out? I'm not going to throw all that at you because that wasn't what you came here to present, but can we have that happen in the future?
The answer today will be a different answer tomorrow to all those questions because it changes that quickly. Yeah, definitely.
Just an overall presentation.
An E&L presentation, we can definitely put something together.
And there's something happening with the parents in April, so that could almost be a good time frame.
Correct. Well, we'll get that on the calendar.
I know that's an end of the meeting. Sorry, Barbara, that's an end of the meeting conversation, but I jumped ahead. And
That's right, -1.
and my last question is, how is our Mandarin program, is the whole grade, all K, all 1, all 2 at this point?
Every class section gets 30 minutes a week.
Okay. And when we talk budget, this is more, again, a Jeremy question, how are we supporting it? I know we did with the grant with BOCES, we did with the Education Foundation. I'd like to know the costs in our budget with that.
Sure. So it's, I mean, I don't know the dollar amount, but it's in partnership with BOCES. So BOCES provides a teaching assistant, so it's not a teacher salary, it's a teaching assistant salary, and we get aid back on it. And they're now in part of the day to cover this, part of the day to cover the remote Mandarin classes at the middle school and the high school. Well, the middle school, they support those classes. So it's really one teaching assistant position that we budget through BOCES. And in the past, the Education Foundation has helped us. The first year was a pilot and BOCES covered the cost. So for now, it's that expenditure of the TA is within our BOCES budget.
That's all my questions. And except that I put the May 16th on my calendar because I missed it last year.
I wrote that down too. So, one of my favorite days. First, thank you. This was, again, always fun seeing those faces, and thank you for your presentation. A question regarding the parent workshops. At a previous board meeting, there was discussion regarding, or a comment regarding the math in the elementary school. And I know when my kids were going through in math, I had to do it one way, they did it another way to see if we got to the same answer. Any opportunity for a parent workshop for math?
Absolutely. We've offered many parent workshops for math homework prior to COVID. Unfortunately, they weren't that well attended, so we're always trying to brainstorm ideas. How can we get the parents in? And maybe the answer is they can bring their child, because we were trying to help parents understand the curriculum. Now, the students get very good at starting to explain, but sometimes it's a challenge. I mean, it can be challenging. So we are starting to talk about parent workshops, and math would be right in there, especially if we had the interest. If we had something that it was easier to do during the day, we could make that work too. So we've done a lot of that in the past, not huge numbers, but we could try it again for sure. And it might be the right time. People might be ready, you know?
Right.
Well, and could we do it maybe through Zoom or something else so that parents who couldn't come in, you know, could be home and could do it from there? Maybe it would be a good chance to tie in the technology piece. And
That
get
might
more
work,
people.
yeah, because that might just be easier, yeah.
Might even work with homework night, you know, like
Yeah.
on a third grade math night,
Yeah.
doing with your third grader, doing your homework with them.
Right.
Give them the really hard problems that night, so where they're really going to need a lot of help.
And obviously, we had a lot of challenges this year, so I would assume that would be even started earlier in the year, not May when school's ending for next year.
Right.
Something like that.
Early in the year, yeah. Yes, and I'd love that interest, and we had many teachers willing to present, so we could definitely do that.
Thank you.
Helen, did you have any?
No.
So, well, when the high school presented, and they were talking about the writing revolution, I asked, and Jackie agreed, to help me. I want to see student work. I want to see how that grows. I want to see what first grade writing, second grade writing, that progression, and be able to celebrate that growth. So I'm just telling you that I already asked Jackie, so she may be coming to you and saying, Barbara's asking. The social emotional piece, are we still doing Yale Ruler? Are we still using those terms?
Teachers are using the mood meter as reference points, and it helps children label their emotions, and we found we wanted to even go farther than that. You know, Ruler does offer strategies and, you know, taking a moment for yourself and finding your best self. but we haven't completely incorporated that as a program this year. It's still there. It's in many classrooms, and people label their emotions. This is where I am. I'm in the red today. But the work that our Character Ed Committee does and Laura Kilduff does, we're trying to build an even more common language through our second step teaching.
Okay, then I'd like a little more information about that.
I'll
Melanie?
ask her to present.
Okay. Tag, you're it. Okay, thank you. And welcome, Jen.
So I just want to take the opportunity to thank you both. You did a fantastic job, as well as the many teachers, support staff, and everyone else that makes all of the things we heard here this evening possible. As you're aware, my favorite place to try to hide is the elementary school. So teachers will look up and just see me sitting in the back of the classroom helping a kid with homework or math work. I try to avoid the ELA stuff. But it's a fantastic place. I love going there, full of happy, smiling faces. You definitely have the cutest kids in the district. No offense to middle school and high school parents. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you both. Nice job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jeremy and sorry.
All right, so before I invite up our next speakers, I'm going to embarrass one of our student reps because I think Leanne has an announcement to make. Leanne, do you have an announcement to make? Do you have anything to tell the crowd?
Girls basketball's going to section finals on Saturday.
So they won 51-45 against Hastings this evening. So the sectional final game will be held in Yorktown High School at 4:30-ish p.m.
Tickets are $8.
Now you're making me question myself. Please hold. $4 p.m. is what I got. Championship 4 p.m. in Yorktown. So congratulations to all of the girls and the coaches and the fans. All right, so our next presentation this
Jeremy,
evening.
before you go on, I'm sorry. I want a point of clarification for the elementary pieces for the budget. The 3 positions we're talking about, for them, we are aware that, and we had conversation in a previous meeting about using federal funds that are kind of one-off funds, that they are not designed for ongoing expense, usually not designed, and this is under the guise of, this is under the plan of recapturing education, that we might be, I should say, probably likely not going to retain all 3 positions that we secure with the external funding that we're going to be able to get. So that's already built into the cake and into the planning for 24, 25, whatever that year is. So the monies that are covering these, it's not as though at this point we're planning on maintaining those sections, unless, of course, we have the influx of population that makes a difference. Then that's just a decision that we have to make at that point.
Correct. So the one position that's in the general fund budget is enrollment driven, and that's one we plan on carrying forward just based upon the enrollment we project coming in. Looking forward, that could always change. The other 2 positions that are federally funded are positions where we had 2 grades that had very large class sizes this year, and we're looking to alleviate some of those, put smaller classes, allowing the teachers an opportunity sort of to address some of the learning loss that's taken place throughout the pandemic, which is really one of the focus areas of the federal stimulus funds, and was one of the highest priorities identified by the survey that was administered to our community and our faculty and staff in terms of how they believe the federal stimulus fund should be best used. So that was what went into the decision to add those 2 extra teachers with the stimulus funding. So I would hope that through retirements, that positions would open up for those individuals and they would be able to stay. But in terms of the total count of sections, unless they're enrollment driven, we would anticipate going back to just the 1 teacher that's actually in the budget.
Sorry, you can continue now.
Oh, wait, I was in the middle of introductions.
Yeah.
For the third time. So our next presentation will be our middle school. So I want to invite up Mr. McCarty and Dr. Payne. Welcome.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Travis McCarty. I have the privilege of being the principal of Putnam Valley Middle School, and I'm here with my assistant principal, Dr. Letitia Payne. We're here to present our 2022-2023 budget for the upcoming school year. And we're going to start right off with enrollment. So you'll see we don't have a great change in our enrollment for next year. Currently, our largest class in the building is our 6th grade, which will be in 7th grade next year at a class size of 137. Our second largest group next year will be our 8th grade at 125, and our 5th and 6th grade are pretty close in numbers. We'll have 109 coming in 5th grade and 108 in 6th grade for an overall change of -2, which is pretty flat across the board. And you'll see if you follow the groups diagonally, when the 5th graders started in 2020, 2021, that 130 went to 133. It's grown to 137. So if you follow those cohorts diagonally, you'll see there's actually been a little bit of growth, even though the overall number shows pretty flat. So let's start off with our 5th grade program. We have 3 partner teams with 5 sections across the board. We call this our pod system, and it works extremely well. We have one teacher that specializes in the humanities, so they teach ELA and social studies, and their partner teacher teaches math and science. So we have 4 general education classes and 1 co-taught, and our co-taught is pretty unique. Both teachers have dual certification in special education and elementary education, which makes it a very strong partnership. And next year, we have 2 special education courses or cohorts. We have an Achieve class, and then our New Horizons class will be coming over from the elementary school. It's actually been a number of years since we had a New Horizons group come over. We're welcoming them with open arms. I actually have some experience visiting some of those students in the elementary school, and we've decided on a location for them, a very large classroom, which will suit a lot of the needs. I have an asterisk next to the New Horizons group because this may be an addition. I think Dr. Doherty talked a little bit about this in her presentation to special education, or it will be a shift in personnel. So to meet the needs of those students coming over, we will need somebody that's very strongly certified in those areas, and teaching assistants will be shifted around as well. So we're looking forward to that. Average class size in 5th grade next year is 20.4. Our Achieve class, 4 or 5 students, and there are 7 New Horizons students. Not a great change, you'll see, from this year, 20.2 to 20.4. Here's some pictures of our 5th graders currently this year. I know our parents haven't had a lot of opportunities of getting into our building, but I always kind of smile a little bit when our elementary parents are nervous about their 5th graders coming to the middle school, because I couldn't imagine middle school without our 5th graders. They bring smiles to our face every day. As I've presented in the past, when they get their new sense of freedom in the middle school, even though it's not bigger than the elementary school, they're so excited to get from class to class. So we have to slow them down a little bit. We have to work with them a little bit on interactions at lunch and recess, because we open up the doors and let them outside onto our turf, and currently in our gymnasium. However, next week looks like it's in the 40s and the sunshine looks bright. So we're looking forward to getting them outside to the fresh air. And you'll see here, we have some science activities going on in the classroom. It looks like they're making some sort of a putty. in the upper left-hand corner, and some science activities in the upper right-hand corner. The lower right-hand corner, we see some students in our dining hall. This was our PTA hot chocolate event. Thank you to our PTA. I've never seen so many toppings that could be put on hot chocolate in my life. Candy canes, Hershey Kisses, whipped cream, just everything you could imagine that these kids added, and it brought smiles to our students' faces. Lower center, you see Mrs. Dreesen with an activity on her smartboard with her camera. And lower left, that's actually out in front of our middle school. I think they were doing a water cycle activity for science, and it was one of the warmer days before the winter break that they were able to get outside under our canopy to enjoy the weather. And our Encores and Specials program, we don't see any changes here. We're still offering 7 to 8 week courses, and I say 7 to 8 weeks because some go a little bit longer, some go a little bit longer than 7 weeks, a little bit shorter than 8 weeks. But we have art, creative writing, social and emotional learning with Mr. Soprano, technology, and textiles and design. Textiles and design is much like the home ec system or family and consumer science that a lot of people remember. These class sizes are at 5 sections, so we have 21.8. And those encore classes are 40 minutes, as well as our specials. Now in 5th grade, students have the option of doing band or chorus or both. So we have some who do both. I envision my daughter being interested in both next year. We also have PE every other day. So our specials are on an every other day rotation. So throughout the entire year, they get it every other day. And our encores, like I said, they take one for 7 to 8 weeks, then they jump to another for 7 to 8 weeks. And you'll see at the bottom, here are some of our concerts that took place this year. Very proud that we had our chorus and band concerts in December, and we have a lot opening up, which we'll talk about more later on in our presentation.
Good evening. So we have 6th grade, which is not much different than last school year, but similar to our grade 5, which has pods. So you have 3 partner teams, 5 sections. You also have your humanities teachers, ELA and social studies, as well as their partner that does math and science. In 6th grade, we have 4 general education classes and 1 co-taught class. Again, like 5th grade, we have our teachers that are in the co-taught class that are dual certified. In the 2021-2022 school year, you will see that we had an average class size of 25.6, and next year we go to a smaller class size of about 20.6. Our Achieve students will move on to the next grade level. Right now it's about 5 students, depending on the annual review meetings. We'll see if that number might increase. And then I love going down to the lunchroom, and where the kids are you always get to see them smiling and having fun, and whenever we come down with the camera, they're ready to come on camera and perform. Today when I went down into the lunchroom, having a community meeting with the students, I even had one student break out in song. So here are some of our 6th grade students here enjoying the hot chocolate day that we had with our PTA. I had a sip of that hot chocolate. I knew I needed to leave it alone because it was just a little bit too sweet. In our encore classes, again, we have art, creative writing, which is new to our building this school year. You have Miss Sarah Riley that does that creative writing. I've had the opportunity to be in her class where she incorporates the Writing Revolution training that she's had. She's one of our turnkey teachers. We also have health, technology, textiles, and designs within the encore classes. Band and chorus and physical education are our specials, which are also on an every other day cycle. We have 5 sections of 108 students and about an average class size of 21.6.
All right, so our 7th and 8th grade program, and the reason why we do this one together is we share many teachers between 7th and 8th grade. So if you'll notice, if you look at the column all the way to the right, you're going to see average class size for 7th grade next year. That's our largest and growing class of current 6th graders. We're at 26.2, so we're going to be watching them closely. And as you go down, it's 26.2 across the board. It's 5 sections. Our 8th grade, which is the second largest group in the building next year, will be at 23.4. We typically like to keep our class sizes between 20 to 25, but as you can see, we exceed that a little bit in 7th grade next year. English stays the same. You'll see a plus 0.2 for LOTE next year, and that is our Mandarin Chinese group. So currently we only have one class due to interest, which is our current 7th grade Mandarin group, and they will be 8th graders next year. So we're speculating that we will have a 7th grade Mandarin group next year, so that's the additional 0.2. And as Dr. Luff said earlier, that's through Orange Ulster BOCES, although we do have a supportive teaching assistant in that class. Now, we do have some preliminary numbers as of today, and I know Ms. Coleman had one more pod to go into, but as of right now, we were at 23 students interested in Mandarin Chinese next year. And again, that's from our students, and of course they go home and talk to their parents a little bit, so that could change, give or take a little bit. But you know, I can only say we continue to gain more and more interest because of the positivity and the exposure of the elementary school. So when these kids are getting exposed to Mandarin Chinese and seeing how much fun it is in the elementary school, that interest grows as they come over to our middle school. And so that's why I think we're going to start to see a little bit more interest in that program. And again, right now it's one section in 7th grade. Next year we expect one section in 7th, one section in 8th, unless that 7th grade cohort grows a little bit more. All right. Again, the only change we see across the board is that additional 0.2. Everything else looks similar to it did this year. So this is our 7th grade encore program, and this is a little bit different. We actually run on a 3-day cycle, which is on a 6-day rotation. So our students get 60 minutes a session or a class for a total of 20 weeks. So those run half a year. So in 7th grade, they receive art for half a year, they receive technology for half a year, but that's on a 3-day rotational basis with band/chorus, or both, and physical education. So you'll see next year, 7th grade at 137 students, class size actually goes down to 22.8 because we technically have 6 sections of it. So because of that rotation, instead of being up at 26, we're down at 22.8. Here's some of our current 7th graders. Up in upper left-hand corner there, you'll see Miss Cassidy. She's our new math teacher. You'll see a student measuring the shoe or boot of a fellow student. And that's practical application for real-world dilemmas. I can only imagine that shoe size. Sometimes it's hard to figure out, right, without trying on shoes. Same thing in the upper right-hand corner. In the lower right-hand corner, you'll actually see our SAD students that came over to work with our middle school students during one of their lunch periods, and we're always looking for opportunities to partner with our high school. And I'll talk a little bit about our Hope for Youth Foundation and our after-school booster lab, but the lower right-hand corner here is just kudos to those high school students to come over and have the courage and openness, I think Leanne was there actually, to work with our students on making good choices. I know they talked about things that may lure students in once they grow in age. and making thoughtful choices and sharing information with adults before falling into that peer pressure. In the bottom center, you'll see students on their laptops. Lower left, it's funny, in the middle school, I was just giving a tour to Red Hook about our scheduling a couple weeks ago. And as they're walking the hallways, they're noticing kids sitting on the floors, kids working at desks in the hallways, and they're like, what is this? And I had to explain to them, our kids learn in all different environments, not just the classrooms. I would invite, when we open things up, when you walk through the middle school, nothing's off limits. We have stools in the hallways, they're working up on countertops, they're on windowsills. I mean, this is student-centered learning. When you're at home, you don't always sit at your desk. And in the middle school, it just shows how students have their own different preferred learning environments. And this is just one example of kids working out in the hallway against lockers. And I oftentimes stop and have very good conversations with them about what they're working on.
Today I had a good conversation with kids where they were creating hybrid animals that had similar DNA and chromosomes. So yes, we do end up having to stop by some students and have these conversations, and they're ready to tell you what they're learning and how they're learning it. So here we have our 8th grade student encore section. So in encore this upcoming school year, art is going to be offered in lieu of technology. It's a slight change. We're going to offer technology, and you'll see later during our IE sessions. But right now we're going to have it where it's going to be a half year of art, and then a half year of health on that same 3-day cycle for 60 minutes. And then they also have opportunities for specials with band, chorus, and digital music. Digital music is relatively new because they had it in the past, and now we brought it back as an option for students to broaden their musical choices. And we also have, of course, physical education. There are 6 sections, 125 students, so that also reduces the class sizes here in the 8th grade to 20.8. Mm-hmm.
You're going to notice in the lower right-hand corner, that is our SRO, Mr. Dan Mahoney. Mr. Muri, I'm sorry. Along with our bloodhound, who visited our health class. And it is one of our missions to help our students become more familiar with our SROs in the building and understand how law enforcement works in a positive way for our communities. And I know that Ms. Coleman and our SRO have visited all of our groups to familiarize themselves. And I know there's a picture out there on social media of Mr. Turner with the bloodhound up on his shoulders. And that dog was so amazing. I mean, I walked in and he just rubbed up against your leg, and he was all over the students. Of course, we made sure our students were comfortable, but his specialty is searching for humans. So I didn't realize this. I thought maybe it was narcotics or drugs or things like that. But each dog has their own specialty, and I'm sure Leanne knows the name. Or Dan, the name? Flash. Flash. And Flash actually wears his own badge and is treated like a human being. So I learned so much just by watching this presentation, and I'm sure our own students learned so much throughout these classes. So I had to give a props to our law enforcement. They partner with us daily, and how nice for our students to understand all the areas in which they work with us to protect us and be partners with us on a daily basis. Thank you.
So here we have pictures. The top left one was my choice. I definitely said we have to put this out there because from the moment that I entered Putnam Valley, I see how many students love chess. Chess is not an easy game to play. It is a thoughtful game. When I noticed that students would play this within their enrichment classes, they also have opportunities to play chess during their lunch period. I have a young sixth grader that came to me to promote having a club next year for chess players. They have opportunities during their lunch period to go into the Learning Commons to play, either play or read, but I oftentimes see students sitting down, playing chess games, showing each other how to play chess, and having meaningful competitions. So I definitely wanted to add that picture to it. So as I was sharing earlier about our technology, one of the things that we've been having conversations with teachers about is about enrichment and making sure that we have opportunities during our IE. It stands for intervention and enrichment. We want to enrich that time period for students, having them have opportunities of choice. One choice that we offer to the students currently this school year is the capstone research. We also want to be able to offer them technology, so they will be able to have that built into their schedule as well. They can make that choice. We also have a makerspace, which is adjacent to our Learning Commons space. And the makerspace offers them opportunities to be creative, problem solvers, inventing. So right now it's being run by a teaching assistant. Hopefully next year it'll be also run by a teaching assistant. One of our greatest hopes is to have a library media specialist to help to run the capstone research program, as well as to help and support the makerspace opportunity. We've done many searches for library media specialists, so if anyone knows a library media specialist, please send them our way, because we are eager to have them come and work with our students.
Okay, so overall staffing. You'll see across the board in grade 5, we have no change. Grade 6, no change. 0.2 addition in 7th and 8th grade, which would be our Mandarin Chinese, which again is a partnership with Orange Ulster BOCES. AIS, no change. And you'll see here I put 0.2 for ENL. As was shared earlier, and the board continues to share more interest in, and rightfully so, we have a growing population of ENL students. And I have to tell you, our ENL department is in some way magician-like, because all of a sudden I just found out today that we have 2 new high school students moving in who need ENL supports. So that kind of has a ripple effect because we share staffing between the buildings. So it's like, how do we meet the needs here, but take away here and add here? So when we are hiring, it's nice when teachers are dual certified. And that's been a tremendous help when they're dual certified in, let's say, Spanish and ENL, or any other subject in ENL. And that helps because we can weave students into certain ones of those classes while meeting that ENL need. So looking forward to that presentation as well. I will tell you, Mrs. Methans has been tremendous to the middle school, and she's taken a great leadership role. And now Ms. Himmelfarb, who started with us probably a little over a month ago, who shared between the middle school and high school, has been a tremendous asset as well. So look forward to their presentation. And again, definitely a growing need to meet all of those services. And we'll continue to look at ways to address that. Encores, we don't see any changes across the board, just some shifts. We still have a 1.0 art, creative writing, a 0.4, and that's actually run between Mrs. Riley and Mrs. Hayes right now. Health with Mr. Turner. Our music department, we have a 3.0. PE, social emotional learning. Our sustainability after next year, we'll see that kind of drop off the chart, but we do address this with our Go Green Club. Technology, 0.8, and textiles and design, a 0.4. So overall, 8.2, and that covers the whole middle school.
So as you can see from the chart, administration, clerical staff, and specialists, there won't be a change for next year in terms of our projections. We'll continue to have a 1.0 for principal and assistant principal, 12-month office staff 2.0, hopeful, so very hopeful for a library media specialist, technology specialist, and a school calendar office assistant. In our support staff, you will also see there will be no changes moving into the 2022-23 school year. However, when we look at teachers' aides and teachers' assistants, we know that that is dependent upon our annual review season and the needs of the students. We know that oftentimes we do have shared staff, so sometimes it's just a shift between buildings that will allow us to maintain our numbers.
And I figured it would be so important for us to give a shout out to our nurse Jackie. If any of you have ever been in a school, you know how imperative nurses are. And I know Nurse Hill very well as well from the elementary school with regard to my own children. So how nice is it to now have a floating nurse? And you know, when teachers are out, it's like really difficult at times to find substitute teachers. Imagine what it's like when a nurse is out. There's been times where we've shared nurses on the campus, one nurse for the entire campus. So having Miss Hill, who has been so great with our elementary kids, and to then see them come to the middle school, and then even help them at the high school, has just been tremendous. So a big thank you to Nurse Hill and Nurse Jackie for all that they do for our staff, our students, our administrators, our families. They're so gentle with our kids and so helpful on a daily basis. And some budget implications for next year. We're looking at, and we've started some DRA training. I know Jackie Levine gave a presentation with regard to our curriculum and instruction district-wide, and one of the nice things is the middle school is really the bridge between the elementary school and the high school. So we see all these great things going on, and when I see high schoolers go over and see the tremendous things that they're doing, we sometimes forget that they came from elementary to middle school to high school. And we're all in this together. It really does. It takes a village to raise a child. And they go through all these developments throughout their entire career. So the DRA training really helps us to connect with the elementary school in many ways, in which we're able to get more feedback with regard to reading levels of our students. We do a lot of good work around whole book instruction, and this will help open up a little bit more for guided reading instruction, where we individualize reading levels for students. And right now we have a teacher that's piloting some Fontes and Pinnell materials through guided reading in 5th grade so that we can get more of a pulse as to where they are. We can set goals, we can provide training, and really meet them more so individually to grow that program. I know we've talked a lot about Writing Revolution. It's been something that we've been involved in since last summer. And I know Dr. Payne talked about Mrs. Riley using it in her classroom, but we have 4 turnkey teachers in the middle school at every grade level. And the one thing that the public might not know is writing is across all core areas. I find it interesting that when kids come to the middle school, they all of a sudden think subjects are departmentalized. Like, but that's in science. No, that's in English. No, that's in social studies. No. When we're out in the real world, it carries across interdisciplinary units. So what you learn in ELA, you should be carrying to your labs in science. You should be carrying to your compare and contrast essay in social studies and applying it with your Venn diagram and such. So Writing Revolution is good writing. It's the basic foundation to sentences, paragraph writing, essay writing. And it's getting all of our core content areas familiar in a common language because we're all ELA teachers at heart. We're all language teachers. It's just the content goes with it. So that's the bright side of Writing Revolution. And I know our work is just starting in this area, per se. And I know next Friday during our superintendent's conference day, our staff members will be working with our trainer on that continued developmental work, and we hope to carry that into next year as well. Our IB Middle Years program, I shouldn't say our program because it's something we're investigating. So I want everyone to understand that this is a framework. Dr. Payne and I are in our infancy of learning more about the IB Middle Years program or a comparable approach or framework. I think the confusion out there a little bit is that this is an overhaul of an entire curriculum, and you know, our teachers, what are they doing wrong? How come we have to revisit curriculum and look at our maps and change everything? And that's not what it is. In fact, we had a veteran teacher on a call with another neighboring district the other day, and she goes, I've been teaching for 20 some years. This is not a new program. This is good teaching. This is inquiry-based learning. This is a framework that we all can get together and move in a common direction to collaborate to provide what's best for our students. And it was an aha moment for me, because when we look at frameworks, when we look at inquiry, when we look at collaboration and interdisciplinary units, isn't that what we all strive for? Isn't that what we want our students to do? So we are still in the investigation process of learning more about the IB Middle Years program. And I think the confusion as well is we have an IB DP program in our high school for 11th and 12th graders. This is not the same. This is a program for all in our middle school, grades 6 through 8. It may be a foundation for grade 5. It may eventually be expanded in 9th and 10th grade. And again, I say it's not something that we are taking ownership yet of. It's something that we're learning more about. And I think the framework and all the pieces to it are amazing. And I was a big part of our LATTE approach, Learner Active Technology Infused curriculum program, which our math department did a really nice job with. We talked to the public a lot about student-centered learning. I know Ms. Conlon, Mrs. Vandeveld, Ms. Minch really took it over with their activity lists and a tremendous amount of differentiation for their students in 7th and 8th grade math, and they still carry that over in 7th and 8th grade math. And when we look at the work and the collaborative efforts that they make, I see a lot of similarities in what this IB Middle Years program may have to offer for our staff and our students. So I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more about that, but I just want to thank Jackie Levine and Dr. Luft for helping us to partner with neighboring districts to learn more, because again, we're still investigating and learning more, and every time I hear more about this, it's great teaching. It's great inquiry-based, a framework, everyone on the same page. It's what we want for all of our students and all of our staff, so I'm looking forward to learn more. And that's grades 6 through 8, but keep in mind, you need to have a foundation, so 5th grade would also be involved in that work, should we choose to go in that direction. I'll let Dr. Payne talk for a little bit, and then I'll speak. All right, I'll talk about choices and program offerings. So as Dr. Payne already mentioned, we currently offered capstone research for the first half of our school year. Again, we're still yearning for the right person to be our library media specialist, so we can continue that. Our 8th graders who currently take chorus, band, or digital music, Miss Krause does a phenomenal job with digital music. Kids actually create their own music through GarageBand and other platforms. As 8th graders and 7th graders, they have the choice of Mandarin Chinese or Spanish. And to show, I know the board asked this of Dr. Intrieri the last time she presented, how does the middle school partner with the high school with IBDP? Our students, and I know there's a parent night next Wednesday for grades 6 through 12 in the high school library at 7 p.m., where we can, as a parent myself, learn more about the steps that 6th graders will take to prepare themselves as 11th and 12th graders. So part of that step is expanding themselves in the area of math. So Math 7A and Algebra 1, we currently offer 2 sections in 7th grade, 2 sections in 8th grade, and of course, if the opportunity is there, that can grow. But ideally, we want a minimum of 2 in those areas. Writing, which I already spoke about, is so important. We have our creative writing, we have our continued vertical alignment, and our writing revolution integration.
This is one of my favorite sections, which is the opportunities that we offer students. Middle schoolers need to get their energy out. They need to show their talents. They need to show who they are as human beings. And the opportunities that we offer at the middle school provide that for them. We have a number of activities, clubs, and sports. We look for students to meet with us and share their ideas with us. And if we have a willing teacher to help to advise that club, we end up offering it to our students. We want to grow our activities and clubs each school year. This year we had an opportunity to be in person. You know, last year we had a lot of virtual, but this year in person, seeing the kids smile. I'm going to be going to the Go Green Club when they're going to be building butterfly houses. So it is really important for students to have opportunities, to have outlets other than just the academics that they do in class. We also offer our Homework Booster Lab, which is a grant through the Hope for Youth Foundation, where students have an opportunity to partner with our high school students to get tutored and help and support within their academic learning. Student of the Month breakfast is back in person. I am so enjoying, that's one of the pictures that we have right there, enjoying eating breakfast with our students and celebrating them. Teachers nominate their students, not just on academics, but also on the basis of their character, on the basis of their improvement in school. And we get to see the students, eat breakfast with them on those days that they are nominated. We also have our student government, which is run by Ms. Wanda Diaz, as well as Ms. Sarah Riley, and they help to promote positivity within our school. The Student Leadership Movement, which is a part of Today's Students, Tomorrow's Teacher, is a newer program to our school district. I am happy that this is offered in our school district because I had the opportunity to be a part of Today's Students, Tomorrow's Teachers when I was a student at Walter Panis High School. It promotes opportunities for students to learn about becoming a teacher and a leader in the classroom. We want more students to be teachers and leaders in the classroom. And since I was there as a high school student, they developed what's called the Student Leadership Movement, which offers opportunities for middle schoolers to be able to learn leadership, to learn what it means to become a teacher. They actually are kind of like the pipeline into the Today's Students, Tomorrow's Teachers program that offers them opportunities to learn more about working with students. They learn interviewing skills, and they also get scholarship to go to college. I also had support through my college mentor that helped me to get my first job. So it is a wonderful program that I'm happy that Putnam Valley has taken on. We also have our student and staff games. I believe it's next week we have our volleyball, because I know we had to move it, and he's going to be on the team.
It's tomorrow. I'm already stretching. So, yeah, we had to cancel this for the Friday before break because unfortunately we had a number of staff members out. So I had to, gear myself back up for this because it's something our 8th graders look forward to every year. And I can't tell you enough what a feeling it is to have a gymnasium full of students cheering on the staff and students alike. And it's a friendly game. It gets a little bit competitive at times, but I tell you, I know we have a girls volleyball team at our middle school. It's second to none. those girls are so athletic and so driven. And I had somebody pull me aside before the break and say, Mr. McCarty, thank you so much for rescheduling our game. I played no part in that. And she said, I'm on the volleyball team and I really want to play, but I was going to miss the day because I'm getting picked up early. So I was happy to meet her need. But I'm a little nervous, as I am every year, because we don't practice a lot together as a staff. We don't have a lot of time to do that. But we do stretch for about 10 minutes and then give it our all. So
And you're not 14.
That game will happen tomorrow, 8th period, and we're going to invite our 7th graders and 8th graders to watch. Our 5th and 6th graders will maintain in their classrooms because of mandates still, but we will be streaming it into their classrooms. Thank you to Mrs. Sherwood, so they can watch it and be proud to be a middle schooler and kind of see that when they watch the older kids play, that's their goal as an 8th grader. I want to compete against the staff. And just to add to that, as things are opening up, in about 5 weeks, right before spring break, we will have our Student Staff Olympics. Now, I like to say my sport is basketball, although I don't get as much practice as I used to. I do go down and shoot around with the students during their recess in the gymnasium. Our Student Staff Olympics are a variety of activities. We do hula hoop competitions, planks, basketball. We used to do tug of war, not sure if that's still on the agenda, but it's another great competition, and our student government works with our entire school, not just 8th graders, on that competition, which will be the Friday right before our spring break. Just to add a little bit more here, for social and emotional learning, we talked about our 5th grade encore. One thing that some people might be not so familiar with is our Pride Time. That's an acronym. It happens once a month, and it helps to build friendships, relationships, respect, etc. We have a responsive school team that's led by Mrs. Soprano, and they meet 1 to 2 times a month to plan an IE period where our students work together to discuss a lot of these social emotional learning topics. And it's really grown, and we have some different activities sometimes for our 7th and 8th graders as opposed to our 5th and 6th graders. But we've had great response from our students and feedback, which we change things with regard to. And our staff has given us feedback as well. So we continue to grow that Pride Time throughout next year. And trips. Mark your calendars. We're hoping to open up field trips. Not sure what the end of this school year might look like, but definitely next school year. You'll see Washington, D.C. on there. So it's been 3 years now since we took our first group to Washington, D.C. So unfortunately, our current 9th graders were unable to go. And unfortunately, our current 8th graders will not be able to go. However, there is a parent night scheduled, and I've sent a Connect Ed message out today, last Thursday, and I'll send another one out next week, where there is a Zoom meeting. So all 7th grade parents, there's a Zoom meeting, March 10th. I believe that's a Thursday, next Thursday, at 7 p.m. So they call it the early bird special, where they get $50 off the price. I have written a grant to the Education Foundation, who has been so humble in funding portion of the trip in the past, and I have plans to meet with the PTA, who has been very humble and gracious in also helping to fund the busing for the trip. And that helps to reduce the overall cost, because I know this can be an expensive trip for families. We're also talking about possibly doing some fundraising so that we can further reduce that. I'd love to see the entire 8th grade go. It's 125 students. 3 years ago, when we took the 8th grade, we had around 60 students that went. It was our first trip in 20 years. My hope is that we get 125 to go. It's a hope, it's a dream, and if we can make it possible for all, we will. It's a trip I'll never forget. And these students will never forget it. know those 8th graders better in 3 days than you can get to know them in an entire year. Just everything about them, it was fantastic. While we learned about Washington, D.C. and everything historical that it has to offer. Okay, some of our goals for our upcoming school year is to continue to bridge content areas thematically through inquiry-based learning and support our PVHS IB World program. And I mentioned that a little bit before. Continue to build student advocacy. There is nothing better than a student that walks up to you and says, "Hey, Mr. McCarty, can I meet with you? I have an idea." There's nothing better. That's what we yearn to teach our middle schoolers. In fact, I had a student today who wanted to start a club. I offered him the idea of the Go Green Club. We've started so many clubs and changed things within the middle school because of student ideas and how we better our environment. So to build that student advocacy and foster choice, we are presenting more choices for our 8th graders. We're the bridge between elementary and high school, and to continue to support our students through transitions to that next level. Continue to investigate what we currently offer and how we teach while implementing positive change. I always say, we must be reflective. We must be reflective in what we do. If people offer ideas, then we make change. We make positive change for what's better and best for our students first and foremost. I can tell you we have a very active PTA right now, and I probably get an email about every other month about ideas. Can we do this? Can we do this? Absolutely. I know there was a 6th grade bowling night. I know that there's a penny social competition going on. They've been very active, and we appreciate the ideas because it gets our kids involved. And then continuing to strengthen academic interventions and supports while offering enrichment opportunities for students as they grow. So as you saw here, IE period, right? So that is intervention and enrichment. So our students receive AIS reading, AIS math, OT-PT, band lessons. How do we strengthen our enrichment areas? And Dr. Payne showed a little bit with that through our choice for our 8th graders, whether it be technology, whether it be capstone research, whether it be makerspace. I'm so excited about the idea of that makerspace. I'll tell you, our TA this year, I have him in our makerspace, and he has Legos. Do you want to see middle schoolers' eyes light up when they get a Lego kit and they can build 8 different contraptions, and then they come to my office and they show it off? And I'm telling you, he works with 5th graders, he works with 6th graders, and he works with 8th graders. The 8th graders are as into it as the 5th graders are. And sometimes things like that you wouldn't think were of that great interest, but it is. So I skipped 7th grade because right now, scheduling-wise, we don't have a TA there. But like I said before, our hope is to grow that. Just a couple more pictures of our students. Any questions?
I'm going first
Go
again.
ahead.
So I have a few. First, they get a bad rap. They are as cute as the elementary school children in their own way. And I do, my hat goes off to middle school teachers and administrators. You're dealing with little children and young adults often at the same time in each individual person in there. So it's a lot. It's definitely a challenging time, and all the enrichment is excellent. One of my questions, I have some very quick logistic questions. What's the difference for the 8th graders between their encores and the enrichment in terms of in their schedule, how often? The encores I know are your specials, but what is that difference, and how do they get to all of it in one day?
Absolutely. We're very creative.
Okay.
So we offer an IE period, which is enrichment and intervention.
Okay.
And that is offered, it depends on what students need. So if they receive related services, they might not have a lot of free time for the enrichment. But then we have students who are in classrooms who don't go to those areas. So one would equate it to maybe a study hall in 7th and 8th grade for the high school. So we said, hey, if students are done with their homework and they don't need that time, why don't they go to a makerspace? Why don't for half a year they choose capstone research every other day or every day on a certain cycle? Or why don't they take technology? Because they really enjoy technology. So those are the options that we will have for that time period, and that's why it's enrichment. It might not necessarily be a graded course, but it'll be a creative course for them.
And in your creativity with the 6-day schedule, and I'm an A-day, B-day girl, so I don't even try to get my head around a 6-day schedule. Do those students that have related services also get opportunities for enrichment?
There's always a possibility, yes.
My other logistic is, does textile and designs meet the state requirements for FACS, Family and Consumer Sciences?
It's a part of FACS.
Okay.
We don't call it FACS, but it's a piece of it.
Okay, because I know we have to provide that, so that's how we're doing it. And then, as you may guess, my longest question on the social emotional learning component, just some clarification budget-wise. You mentioned we have one school counselor, but I thought we did some rearranging and there's a little bit more than one. Don't we share with the high school? Didn't we spend a lot of time talking about that, or?
So there's
Help me.
one there's one school counselor at the middle school, one psychologist, and one social worker.
Right.
That provide clinical support
Right, but
services.
didn't we look at increasing school counselor services in the middle school?
It was originally what we did was when we moved Laura Kildoff to the elementary
school.
She was also covering 5th grade. What we saw during sort of the COVID years when all of our elementary school students were in and the middle school was in hybrid instruction, that she was really needed full-time at the elementary school. They had the most students there every day. And then we decided just to maintain that structure moving forward. She's pushing into classrooms, she's teaching lessons, as we heard earlier in the presentation. So she's really become a valuable asset to that building. And Travis has begrudgingly let her stay supporting the elementary school.
She was servicing just the 5th grade. And I think once we were in full-time with our elementary students and we saw their needs as they were transitioning back into school full-time, that need really became very apparent. And I think that it has worked out swimmingly well. And for our students, I think Ms. Kildoff is in classrooms really every day at the elementary school, as well as seeing small groups and individual students.
So the 5th grade, one of their encores is a specific 8-week or 7-week social emotional learning component. Is that taught by the school counselor, or is that taught by a teacher as an encore?
It's actually taught by Mr. Soprano as an encore teacher. Okay. However, one thing that you don't see based on the presentation is Ms. Coleman gets into all of our encore classes throughout their year. She does career pathways. Okay. With more of the upper level kids. And she works with the Second Step program, more so with really the entire crew. But as one example, you saw Officer Muri up there. So that's one of the ways that she pushes in. So it's a nice way for her to touch base. And as I mentioned during one of our presentations, she was playing a flashcard, kind of like charades. She was holding up professions on their heads and the kids had to act them out and then guess what they were. So I tell you, there's so many occupations that exist out there that our students don't often think about. So we're trying to chart this journey as they go through the high school. Because as you know, they change their minds as they grow. So some of them, even graduating high school, aren't quite sure where they're going profession-wise, but exposing them to what's out there is so important.
And you answered my next 2 questions. Is Second Step being carried over? Because I know that's the point of articulating that kind of instruction. And does the general school counselor go into all the other classrooms? So you just answered those questions, so I am done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't have questions, but I have compliments for you. Back in the 90s, I was hauled into a principal's office when I taught in high school because I was doing everything that you folks are doing. It worked back then, and it works now, and thank you for allowing children to get out of their seats in a classroom, to go into hallways, to talk to one another, to differentiate, to ask them, what do you want to learn? We don't take the time to listen to our kids enough, and it's the key thing to allow them to grow as individuals. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, by the way. This is, I think, more for Jeremy. The budget implication slide, can you talk a bit on that, budget-wise? Slide 20?
Sure. So the DRA training, guided reading. So most of the, I would say the top 3 are really covered in what is our yearly professional development. Those have been priorities of ours for writing revolution for the past couple years. The DRA and guided reading training are in partnership with BOCES, and both are consultants through BOCES. So those fit all within our existing budgetary constraints. The IB program is very minimal cost associated with so far. It's really just been sort of focus groups that have been arranged virtually with neighboring school districts. But if the decision is made to move forward with the middle years program, there's a certain training requirements that would need to take place. And if that decision is made, we have money budgeted through the federal stimulus funds to cover what's really the startup process for IB. And then it's much more economical to maintain. So once that federal stimulus money is gone, we would then be able to maintain the IB fee, just like you would the fee to be part of a Middle States or Tri-States or any of those other certification credentialed programs. This would replace what those costs would typically be.
Thank you.
I didn't have any.
You have one?
Yeah. Actually, more along the lines of, it's been a while since we've been exposed to encores, and since they've changed as well. The encores as presentations themselves, middle school and elementary school, as far as the specialty. You know, we understand the band and chorus because we have the opportunity to see the end result of those. We don't get a chance to see the end result, if there are any results, of some of the more, the new ones. I'd be very interested in seeing what the design class is like, or kind of what the goals are. I'm not, you know, maybe if it's examples of student work would be also another opportunity for us to learn that. Additionally, can you remind me, on the math and science paths in 7th and 8th grade, we've changed it a couple of times. There was the math 8, as opposed to going algebra, and now I see there's both. You just kind of, I don't know if it's now or another time, but I think you can probably put it in a quick way how math and science are now, because we changed earth science, that whole sequence. If you just talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Right now.
I can give you a quick summary. So in math, 7th grade, students have 2 pathways. We have Math 7A, which is accelerated, which has pieces of algebra, and then they would continue on to Algebra 1 as an 8th grader. The other pathway would be Math 7 and Math 8, and those are the 2 pathways math-wise. Now, if a student does take Math 7 and wants to give algebra a chance, we try to put systems in place to catch them up and support them as much as we can, to then have the possibility of taking algebra as an 8th grader. So I want to say we never want to lock anyone out. We're always open, like I said, student advocacy and families, because what they have for choices as young as 7th grade, as you know, impacts them as juniors and seniors. So we never want to lock students out. Now with science, it's a little bit different. We met with the science, high school science department, Dr. Intrieri, a couple of years ago now, and we offer Science 7, which actually when we talk about our science program in 6 through 8, it spirals. So we try to meet the next generation science standards, so they work together to build that. So what happens in 6th grade is grown in 7th and then grown in 8th. And they're actually get exposure in all of the sciences. And that's what we saw with earth science. It was just kind of a tunnel. Like that's what you learned and then you moved on to living environment. Now you're exposed to all these different sciences in hopes that kids will continue their interest into science research later on. And of course, living environment as 9th graders. And I'm sure I can't speak to the high school, but I'm sure there's other opportunities to double up in some areas if they need to. But we were told foundationally this was our best move, and we're still developing it. We're still waiting for the assessment to come out, because sometimes when you're moving towards standards and you don't have that assessment, you're really eager to see what that looks like. So there's cross-cutting principles. Our science teachers do a lot of work together collaboratively, but until that comes out, we'll really see what those standards are aiming for. And it's really, when we talk about the IB middle years program, it's inquiry-based. So kids question the world around them, and then they formulate skills to investigate any problem or issue that exists. So not just, what is I'm not making fun of any science, but what is this rock? So it's inquiry-based.
Thank you.
So I just want to thank Travis and Letitia, and obviously all of the faculty and staff we have in the building. As a parent of a middle school boy, I can appreciate what it's like living with one of them. Being in a building with 600 of them is, I give you guys all the credit in the world, but certainly a fantastic job, terrific place to be. Thank you all for your time.
Feels.
Okay, student representatives.
Go, Leanne.
Do you remember far back to your elementary and middle years? This is really a change, right?
It's crazy, and I was talking to Dominic when they were presenting. I was like, this is nice. Like saying like Miss Hill in my school, I love it because I know her personally because my mom teaches. But having her in my school, I love it. I go in there all the time and talking to them. It's amazing. So.
It's great to get little bouts of nostalgia every time
I remember that.
Oh wow, I remember that.
From so many years ago.
But it's really great to see traditions continue and new ones come up, and see how students are able to adapt and enjoy. And I hope to see these continue for years to come.
Yeah, I was thinking when they were talking about the science fair and stuff that they should let you guys know when it's happening, because it would be interesting for you to wander through. No.
Well, the National Science Honor Society is actually assisting in the creation of these projects. So we come in and assist the 4th graders in their research, in their design, in their presentation, and so we assist in all steps. I was actually there on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I was able to see the Innovation Lab. It's quite amazing to see these 4th graders show their potential. Not only just come up with creative ideas, but be able to research and be able to elaborate upon them. Everything from gravity to static electricity. It's quite amazing. I can't wait to see the science fair.
Good.
So to start our report, as you can hear, I don't have a voice because girls basketball just won their semifinals game against Hastings, which allows us to go now to finals on Saturday at 4 o'clock at Yorktown High School, because Westchester County Center is like a hospital right now, so we're going to Yorktown. And then because it's a finals game for Section 1, tickets will be on sale online, and I'm sure someone will post it on Twitter. I know I'll post it, so. And then also, as all of us are getting ready, seniors are getting ready to finally choose their college or plans for next year. I know a lot of my friends are deciding, and it's hard. And then also, our final prom date for class of 22 has been chosen for June 15th. Times are still getting set out, but we plan on leaving the school approximately 4:30 to get driven to Villa Borghese. And due to us having, I know it's like a good side of COVID, we weren't able to have a junior trip. So we have abundance of funds, and this is probably going to be the lowest ticket price in years. So we're trying to finalize everything, and I'm on prom committee, and one thing we're trying to keep it is like under $80 for a person, because we want everyone to be able to come, and prom can be pretty expensive. So that's great.
In other news, the Tri-Am Music Honor Society had their induction last night. And even though I wasn't there, I was able to see posts on Instagram and other places. And being able to see these musically inclined students be recognized for their talent and be able to show off their talent, it's amazing. I mean, you hear, these almost angelic voices, these people being able to show off their hobbies and talents and maybe even careers. And it is absolutely amazing to be able to see people flourish and be supported in our arts department. And I'd also like to thank Dr. Luft and the board in general for following the federal and state COVID regulations over the past 2 years. It's been incredibly difficult. And now following the state recommendations for optional masks, I'd just like to say thank you for protecting the ability of choice for students, the students of PVHS. Really appreciate that. And hopefully, we're at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully this will be the final leg of the pandemic, and we can put this all behind us and go into a better year. So thank you.
Thank you. That's good.
Well, Dominic, I certainly hope you are correct. I can't go through this again. All right, just some quick updates. I know some of these we've already discussed. The events that have taken place, I know the Music Honor Society took place last night. We've spoken a little bit about a teacher focus group that's taking place between Westlake and teachers from PVMS looking at the IB program. So I wanted to publicly thank them for taking time out of their day, taking teachers out of the classrooms to meet virtually with the teachers from Putnam Valley Middle School. I thought it was an excellent opportunity for our teachers to hear a little bit about the program from teachers that are living it. We hosted our first Superintendent's Council meeting. For those who do not know, that's a committee consisting of parent and community representatives, teachers, staff, and other school personnel. So we gathered, we did some activities, setting our priorities and vision for the group, and then determining our initial focus, which is going to focus on communication. I thought it was an excellent meeting, lots of diverse perspectives, but ultimately we very quickly reached a consensus on what our priority will be, at least for the beginning of this school year. We're in the process of developing a survey that'll go out to the community, and we're going to use those survey results to drive our work moving forward. So it was a terrific first step, and we're looking forward to the next meeting. As Travis had mentioned, we had Red Hook come visit both our high school and our middle school. Very interested in our scheduling structure, the community lunch block schedules. So from all accounts, it was very well received. Red Hook left very impressed by what they saw in both buildings, and actually has already requested another trip back with a different group of staff members. Some quick sports update, as we heard from Leanne. Girls basketball won this evening, so move on to the finals. Yorktown High School, Saturday, 4 p.m. The boys basketball team won the first sectional game before unfortunately losing in the quarterfinals. Jacob Cassidy won the sectional title in wrestling and advanced to the New York State tournament. Our girls cheerleading team finished second in sectionals. Emily Quinn qualified for the New York State tournament in gymnastics. I believe her send-off was today here at the high school. Brona Cassidy placed third in sectionals in the 3,000 meters and qualified for indoor nationals. Gabe Reswicki, boys swimming, qualified for states. I apologize if I missed anyone else, but those were the notes I was given. Just be on the lookout.
Gabe Riziki.
What?
Riziki. It's Polish.
Riziki, sorry. Stand corrected.
Self-advocacy, standing up for each other, this is what we're teaching.
Be on the lookout for, I mean, as everyone's aware, masks are now optional in Putnam Valley. We did receive updated guidance from New York State, so be on the lookout for a communication that that explains or breaks down what's required, what's strongly recommended, and sort of other considerations. I did my best to break out 6 pages of guidance into something that was very user-friendly for the community, so individuals really understand. The real emphasis on required mask wearing is surrounding individuals who tested positive and returned to school beginning day 6. So if you shorten your isolation period shorter than 10 days, that mask wearing is required until you reach the 10-day period. There's some other exceptions in there, but that seems like a pretty common sense one. But that information will be going out to the community this evening or tomorrow. Just a quick snow day update, since last time we've used no snow days, so 2 remain. I remain optimistic we will not need to resort to our virtual snow day option, which I'm hoping to avoid. So let's hope for only weekend storms and or 80 degrees and sunny. We held a budget meeting. Actually, Ms. Figueroa held a budget meeting this evening. It was actually well attended upstairs in the cafeteria. Many community members came out with questions about the school budget. I was able to join at the end. It seemed like there was a very well-received communication. Individuals had great questions, and really we encourage more participation, the better. The more accurate information we can get out, the better we serve the community, and the more feedback we receive from the community, the better we can make sure that we disseminate appropriate information. So there's 2 more meetings coming up. Information's available on our website and other places, but please join if you're interested to hear more about the budget development process or any specifics related to the budget. Just some quick budget highlights. I know our next board meeting will be covering the full budget for the first time. Our anticipated tax levy increase is 1.49%, so that remains below the tax levy cap, and I would say well below many of our neighboring districts. Our tax rate remains below the rate from 9 years ago, so that's something we're very proud of, and obviously we continue to stay below the tax levy limit. This year was especially challenging, balancing increased costs, contractual obligations, increasing fuel prices, rising costs of health insurance and pensions. So we were able to cover all those additional expenditures while still staying below the tax levy cap. And we've spoken before, the federal stimulus funds, although it cannot be used to offset the tax levy cap, are being used to address student learning loss, academic enrichment, lower class sizes, and minor capital improvements. Some of the upcoming events: March Madness reading, we already spoke a little bit about. IB information night for grades 6 through 10 parents, March 9th at 7 p.m. in the high school library. And our next board meeting will feature a full budget presentation by our district treasurer, Jill Figueroa. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, new business. We only have 1 item, so.
Resolve the recommendation to superintendent of schools to approve the district response and corrective action plan for recommendations received from the New York State Controller's Office related to the 2021 IT audit as per document number 12822 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? Anybody? No?
All in favor? All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, I'm going to open it up for public comment on any topic. Please remember that if the speaker is sharing hateful, hurtful, judgmental, inaccurate, or otherwise inappropriate comments, the 3-minute extension of time will not be allowed. The board wants to hear from you about your child's experiences in our schools. Thank you.
Good evening, community, Board of Education. Close your eyes.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. I'm Miranda Zaki-Gretz. I have an upcoming kindergartner and a 7th grader.
Thank you.
Sorry, forgot.
Okay.
It's fine.
Close your eyes. Raise your right arm. for one moment as high as you can raise it. Go that one more inch. That's the inch that matters. We, the people, do not need a voice. We need two voices. Voice is what matters. Stand with our children. Dictatorship does not work. Eventually, it fails. Team is what accomplishes all for the betterment of our community and our school district. If we could just set aside for a brief moment our own political opinions, agendas, emotions, we might be able to create the greatest workforce ever existing. Stop looking for just differences. Start including similarities. One similarity we all have is a heart. When we don't follow that heart's creation, we fail ourselves and our children. We miss on true morals, values, and beliefs that are most important for shaping the minds of our youngest generation. We have taught them, don't speak, someone else will. Don't make decisions, someone else will. You have no rights like others do. This is the system that fails. Because all this agenda that doesn't make sense gets passed from the taking advantage of weak circumstances. Days fly by, policies, procedures fly by, because time doesn't stop and allow us to think. Preparing for the future becomes almost impossible. Surviving is what we do. Leave no child behind. Amazing, awesome concept. But how many are being left behind with adult decisions of today? No one person can be or will be God on earth ever. My guy's pretty big up there. Only through communication of an open concept is how we accomplish great outcomes. Those great outcomes may not be what you and a few others might think are great outcomes. They must be community-based, an entire entity. The last concept that needs to be communicated stands the concept of true accountability, the ownership of decisions made. Right or wrong, pure ownership, pure accountability. Think of the 2021 yearbook for the middle school pages of a person represented, a person whose rap sheet is thicker and longer than a human's medical records of 20 years going through medical interventions to cure cancer. Any other impact figures that could have been in those cherished pages that have a positive influence on our children? How about Catalin Carrico? Thank you for your over 30 years of working on messenger RNA. Unfunded, by the way. Yes, instead we heard a template blamed on ownership of human error, accountability. We all make human error, and it's only okay and fixable through the ownership with great honesty breeding integrity. That integrity that our children need to learn. It truly takes an entire village to raise children today. An entire village, and I think I know what that village is like at Putnam Valley. It is truly, truly amazing. I thank you for this time and love always the apex of my heart. I just have a couple of questions that I wanted to ask before I leave. Why is the science fair not a part of the middle school?
So our intention is to bring those fourth grade students doing that science fair up to the middle school. Just we weren't able to get an advisor and sort of the staffing together that we needed to run it this year. But I have every intention of bringing it to the middle school, and I really hope it'll bridge between the elementary school and what ultimately is our science research program. I'm a former high school science teacher. I'm very passionate about the sciences. And I really think that's an excellent opportunity for our students to show off their innovation, their creativity, problem solving, and we have every intention to find a way to continue to bridge that from the elementary school to the high school.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Science is everything. There's nothing that's not science. And I just have a couple of questions. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this tonight. The Mandarin program that's going on, what is the cost of that program? And involved in that question is, I'm hearing and I'm understanding a big emphasis on Mandarin and almost like an enforcement of Mandarin. And my question derived actually this week because I'm seeing a lack of consistency with Spanish teachers in 7th grade. I don't know about the other grades, but I know Spanish, they're really having a tough time finding a consistent Spanish teacher. So I'm a little worried about that. But what's the big emphasis on Mandarin? I just want to understand this.
Sure. So the cost I can get to, I do not have those numbers right in front of me. Are you talking about the cost? It's sort of twofold here. The cost for the teaching in the middle school and high school, or the cost for the elementary school program, or both?
Both.
Okay.
Both is a great answer.
Okay, I can get those right. So this is sort of the quick synopsis of the Mandarin story. The middle school once had French and Spanish as the two offerings for languages. At least two offerings is very typical across all middle schools across New York State. You typically don't want to box students into one language. The example I gave, if you are a student who is from a Spanish-speaking home and is fluent in Spanish, to go to the middle school and then be forced to take only Spanish, a language in which you're already fluent in, is not an ideal environment, right? I would much rather have a second language for that student to choose from. So the French program in the middle school was not gaining the student interest. Students have choice to sign up for whatever they would like. So it's my understanding that a survey went out to students to ask them what language they would be interested in. Mandarin received the highest response rate amongst students. So Dr. Wills back then had hiring a Mandarin teacher is extremely challenging, as we were aware. So Dr. Wills began a pilot with Orange Ulster BOCES where they provide a virtual teacher who teaches the students on the smartboard, and we provided a teaching assistant within the classroom to help support them. That's the model that's been in place for the last 5 years now. We learned a lot over the last couple of years during COVID, and we learned that virtual teaching never replaces in-person teaching. So we are committed to finding a Mandarin teacher. We actually have a couple applicants, which we're excited about. Actually, applicants that came through our partnership with BOCES in our elementary school program that went on to get their certifications in Mandarin. So that's ultimately how Mandarin came about. 7th grade students choose what language they want. So right now we have one class of Mandarin. I think Mr. McCarty had said 24 students have signed up for it, and 5 sections of Spanish. So still a vast majority of our students continue with Spanish. But for those who want another option, Mandarin was the option that was chosen by the students. If student interest drops and we no longer carry enough interest to run the Mandarin class, we would go back out and ask students what they wanted instead. I'm really committed to offering 2 languages. I don't think it's right to offer one, but if student interest in Mandarin drops, I'd be happy to go out and ask students what other languages they would like us to consider. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Is that it? Thank you.
Sam.
You're not?
Just a very quick question, and
Sam, who are you?
oh, Sam Oliverio, I'm sorry, right? I live in Putnam Valley. Oh, good, you're still here, Dr. Podesta, good. Quick question, and Dr. Luff, Dr. Podesta, jump in. The additional sections, I'm very familiar with the elementary school and the additions. Where would you house these additional sections? Because I know most of your rooms are taken, or all your rooms are taken right now.
We actually have space this year. We have extra rooms. We have a 14 room, we have an extra conference room upstairs. We have several extra rooms.
Okay, so that would answer that.
Right,
then.
we planned accordingly to, before we even decided to use federal stimulus monies to add those sections, that we had classroom space available. If you think back a couple years ago, 5 grades in every, 5 sections in every grade level was very
Right.
consistent for many years. We still only have 4 in 4th grade, so that's 1 class right there. But we knew actually a couple years ago we were considering moving over 5th grade, so we were going to bring an entire extra grade level back to the middle school, and that really forced us to do a room analysis, room utilization analysis, to determine exactly how many spaces we had available in that building. So we know we can very easily accommodate those 2 extra sections without even using the outbuilding, the old modular building where.
That's what I was thinking. What is the purpose? What will you be doing with that?
So that building's being fixed up to make it a usable space. We haven't yet determined exactly what we're going to use it for, but we have a couple things we're considering. We're looking to file for New York State an application for grant funds to support a UPK program in which we would partner with community-based organizations. So one option for that building is to provide a space for a community-based organization to partner with to host a pre-K program. So that's one thing. The innovation lab, as we had spoken about, is set up in the library. It was an accommodating space at the time, but if we want to sort of get back to a more traditional library, we may look to relocate that classroom. A large outdoor classroom, access to the outdoors would be a perfect space for the innovation lab. So those are some of the uses we're considering right now. So we were at risk of losing that building. The roof was failing. We were going to lose our CO, so we were really forced to sort of either abandon it or fix it up. So we put some money in to fix it up, and now it's a usable space, a flexible space that we can decide how to best utilize.
I remember back in the day when I was guidance counselor, getting the kids ready for program, the elementary up to the middle school, going over there, and I think Mr. Sperling had one of the rooms back there in the building. And that was the first thought that occurred to me when you had talked, Dr. Podesta, about these additions, that they would go there.
See, I was in the red trailer that was in the parking lot.
Were you in that? You were in
Mrs.
that
Conroy and Mr. Sperling was on the other side of the trailer.
That was a terrible building.
That was before the
Well, now you work in the trailer again.
I'm back in the trailer.
You're also
This one's
old.
much nicer.
Full circle.
Well, thank you.
Back
Thank
in a
you.
trailer in the same location. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Come on up.
Hello, I'm Mike Sheehan from Portland, Matter. It's sad to say I've never been to one of these meetings before. And
They're
I'm
fun,
happy
aren't they?
that
Is it living up to all your expectations?
It's quite interesting. Listen, guys, this is just an idea. I'm a producer editor at 60 Minutes and 48 Hours, and I just saw, and I teach adjunct once in a while at St. John's University and Montclair State. And when I have when I feel something's very impactful to watch and for students to see certain videos and stuff, the impact they have in these in my classrooms, and they're very overwhelmed. I'm thinking, and to talk to you guys in the future, I've been now, my kids have been here, Jane's now a senior already, so she's been here. There's been no lectures or symposiums. You have that beautiful auditorium. I love your auditorium here. I think it would be great if it was approved to show, especially this one thing, and I could get experts in to talk about lectures, reach out to the parents to see if anybody else has any kind of ideas to get in lectures with Q&A, and to just present something pretty powerful. Have we done any kind of lectures with students with anyone in the past that I'm not aware of?
I mean, I know they've been done in the past, but I'm trying to think of what the last one was. We definitely have the what's JK? What are the initials? Help me.
It's JCK Foundation. And it's
JCK Foundation is one that comes in and works with students.
But it's just like an idea, because one of the things
I love the idea.
You're right. Is this great program. It's getting a lot of feedback. We won a lot of awards. It's called Death by Text, and it's about the responsibilities for students how dangerous, how wonderful this thing is, and how dangerous it is. And I would feel that students should really watch this, because my kids were in like, whoa, it is so sad of what goes on. And also to lecture, one of my cousins, I tried to get him into NBC years ago. He went in, the people loved his interview and all, and just to teach them that he was at a party 7 years before, they check all this media stuff, he's given the bird, he's being stupid, and they said, well, he's not our type to fit in this company. Those are the kind of things, I'm just saying, it would be kind of interesting to use that auditorium to have a nice symposium, you know, once in a while. It's just advice and it's just a suggestion. And I would love to pursue it, you know, with you guys.
I love the idea, and I would welcome any information you can provide, and I love the topic. Cool. I think what you pointed out is something that our students would greatly benefit from, so I would love to partner with you and figure out any way to make that happen.
Yeah, okay. Thank you all.
Thank you. And I got to come to more meetings, so.
Anybody else? Go ahead,
Come on up,
Tom.
Tommy.
Hi, my name is Tommy Straub. I promise I won't be as hard as you guys and my mom is a lot of the times. So I just have a simple question. Since school is getting back to normal, we've been told since the beginning of the year that we wouldn't have a powder puff game. And for a while we thought it was the AD, but a couple people have told me that it was the board who said no to it. So I wasn't sure if that's true or not.
So the first answer is no. The board definitely did not say no to anything. And the second, maybe first question was, there's already something being planned.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
If you follow up with Mr. Kanchowitz, he'll tell you all about it.
All right,
so
perfect.
it's not going to be a powder puff game in terms of football, but he's got a whole event lined up that's going to take place, juniors versus seniors, the whole shenanigans. So if you follow up with Mr. Kanchowitz, I'm sure he will give you all the details, but it's definitely scheduled to happen.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tommy.
And also, student government is planning that already. And just another Spirit Week and Spring Fling and everything else, so yeah.
We have a lot of events
Do you
planned.
have any other free time, Leanne? Any free time?
You do sleep, don't you?
No. I had an IB paper due last night at midnight, and I kind of hit submit at 11:48, so.
So you had 12 minutes extra.
Huh?
So you had 12 minutes extra.
There you go. I promise we sleep sometime.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, any upcoming meetings and topics? Dr. Luff, do we have,
Well, we know the next,
oh, I'm sorry.
I will defer to you, Jill.
My voice for once tonight. So yeah, I want to just announce that we are going to be having some more budget advisory committee meetings like we had this evening, which I thought went very well, and we definitely need to keep getting back together to discuss those issues, and I'd like to hear what everybody's got to say and ask regarding budget and any questions that you might have before we even present the budget in its entirety, which is on March 24th at the meeting. So those two dates are March 9th, and that one is at 1:15 in the afternoon, and that is going to be at the middle school. And that's so that we can provide it for, you know, the audience that we can't provide it for in the evening. And so on March 16th, it'll be 6:30 here at the high school. So March 9th at 1:15 and March 16th at 6:30. Hope you can make it. Thank you.
And one of the things that came out of tonight's meeting was people were interested in, once you present the budget, in having more of these. So these are kind of like to answer questions before the budget. And then
Correct.
after the budget's been presented, we'll do more informational so that
Correct.
people
So
may
once
have more
the-
specific questions.
Right, once the full budget is presented, there'll be a line-by-line budget available for everyone to look at, and that's a good time for us to, I'd be more than happy to go over, you know, whatever items in the budget that you want to understand further. So I can be helpful with that at any time. Yep.
Thank you.
And we know, I don't know if we're not, it's not on the schedule because we just brought it up today, but encore, student work, all that lovely things.
Right.
And Jill, what's
Dr.
the
Luft
time?
has that
Sorry, I
written
went
down.
down a rabbit hole for this symposium I'm excited about.
We've lost him now.
Sorry
They
about
live
it.
in the moment.
I'm watching the, I'm going to look for your name on here as the producer. So the next, as we mentioned, the next board meeting presentation will be our full budget. So we'll be doing that. And then next on my list, I have the E&L presentation. So I'll work on that with some of the E&L teachers and invite them back to work on that. So I know we have one more left in March, and that'll be our presentation. Typically, that conversation drives how much more budget conversation happens the first week in April. But once we get through the budget season, I'll certainly find an opportunity to have the E&L teachers come back, and I know we're working on the writing pieces as well.
Plus, on the budget front, we may or may not know by April 1st when the deadline is the actual budget that gets signed by the governor.
Have you ever?
Yeah, we have.
We used to.
And we're hearing the whole budget on March 24th. We're not adopting the budget on March
Right.
24th.
Right. This is just the first time we're sharing the entire budget.
The adoption's not till the second meeting in April,
Yes,
and if we need to, we can go one more meeting beyond that, right?
yes, but hopefully not.
Right.
You know what,
Yes,
part
but
of that
no.
response is because the
The
newsletter
newsletter, I
needs to
understand.
go out, so not just because I want it to.
No, no, we
Right.
understand.
You'd rather not delay anyway, so I understand.
And that's a Tuesday, not a Thursday.
That meeting would, yes, this is Tuesday.
Okay, board members, any comments on the board?
Just a quick comment. We don't make any decisions unless you guys see it. So we won't vote on anything unless it's in public. So I want to make sure that's clear. When he talked about the powder puff, that would not happen without making a statement publicly. So
We don't even talk to each other
No.
in more than groups of two because that's not allowed, so.
Correct.
Yes, no decisions are made otherwise.
No three of us are on email. So.
And Dr. Luft, I want to thank you for your communication about the mask mandate and really with the emphasis on dignity and choice for everybody. There are people who are choosing to continue to wear their masks, and they need to be able to do that. It is about choice, so thank you for making that so clear in your communications.
Leanne, something to say?
I just
saw
want
you
to
leading
say,
in.
I talked about tickets being on sale for the game on Saturday. There's only 300 tickets available for both us and Irvington. So if you want to come to the game, as soon as the link is out, buy them fast
Better hurry.
because they're going to run out. Unfortunately, it's not at the county center, so we're stuck to a high school gym. So if you want to go, buy.
It's not filmed at all. They don't have one of those.
It will be live streamed on Local Live, so
Okay.
it'll be probably found either on our page. If you go to Local Live, find Putnam Valley High School, it'll be there on Saturday.
And that's the end of the road, right? There's no beyond sectionals this
There's
year, right?
regionals and then states, yeah. So then
So
we,
they are holding them this year? 'Cause I
yeah,
know that
all
there
they
was-
don't have is the federal
Federation
government, yeah.
gotcha.
tournament.
Okay.
So typically, the New York State public school champion would play the private
okay.
parochial New York City school champion. That federation tournament's been canceled, but our girls team can go all the way up and win a state title. The tournaments together.
And you will be.
Fantastic.
That's
Thank
like
you all.
just clear.
Sorry, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.